What's up, LEGO builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. One of my favorite aspects of Star Wars is its expansive and well-explored universe. There are planets crawling with deadly plants and creatures, as well as powerful alien species capable of designing weapons of mass destruction. And of course, a few goofy ones thrown in as well.
Right, it's gonna be another one of those planets.
Today, I'm challenging myself to add to the list of crazy worlds and using these harmless LEGO sets, create the most deadly Star Wars planet you've ever seen. Full of raging monsters, man-eating plants, and maybe even some pools of toxic acid. If you're ready to see some clones try and spread democracy in the worst place possible, don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button, and let's get building. Let's start with some giant killer bugs. I'm not much of a creature builder, so I thought it would just be easier to build and heavily modify these LEGO insects and pray they don't come alive while I sleep like a rated R version of Toy Story. Starting with the praying mantis, I'm already getting Star Wars vibes from it, as the body reminds me of the dreaded Ackley that lives on Felucia. I don't want to build that, however, since this is my own creation. I decided to build the mantis first, and then once I know what I'm working with, I can mod it out. This is what I have to work with, and honestly, it's a solid foundation. The body doesn't need much altering, and the serrated blade arms are a real chef's kiss. The head's a little goofy though. I added some spikes to the body because nothing says predator like a spiny back. The legs were too spindly, so I beefed them up and added some extra long claws because this guy may be ugly, but he sure doesn't skip leg day. Nothing says bad boy alien like extra arms, so I'm gonna add a couple grabbers to pull the prey into those fearsome blade arms. And boy, did I find something special for the head. I pulled this terror straight from the pits of hell. Also, shout out to my boy Elick.
Hello there.
Now, this is no beauty pageant winner, but that's okay. Towering over any minifig, he's ready to attack, slice, and dice. Just like a sushi chef. Let me know in the comments what I should name this creature. Next up is the Beetle, and to be honest, I have no idea what to do with this one. Mostly because I think it's such a cool looking model as is, and doesn't really look like anything seen before in Star Wars. I'm gonna build it and just go from there. Now, some of you at this point may be wondering what I could possibly have planned for the butterfly, and spoiler alert, I'm not doing anything with it. I mean, come on, it's a nectar drinking set of blue wings, and since when have butterflies ever been that much of a threat? Bruh. With how simple the mantis was to build, I'm surprised the beetle is this complex. It's got a very cool trunk and mouth area, and while the legs aren't anything special, the designers went all out and designed a pair of massive yellow wings, which I definitely want to keep since the other creatures can't fly, and as you'll see in a bit, the yellow wings will be great camouflage for this one. Full disclosure, I didn't name any of the plants or creatures I'm building, so drop any suggestions you have down below in the comments at any point. But as cool as it is, I just can't plop this into the mock without trying to change it somewhat. I like the mouth, which can chomp down on minifigs, and the wings are a must, so I added some extra teeth and mandibles to keep prey secured in its jaws, and I topped everything off with some antenna. I know that's not much of a transformation, but it's the best I could come up with. Building this massive beetle thing makes me think it might be time for a LEGO Helldivers mock. What do you guys think? Shouldn't be too hard to go from building troopers spreading fake democracy against droids to troopers also spreading fake democracy against bugs and smart droids.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
Now it's time to build their home, Raxus Prime. I decided to call my planet Raxus Prime. I knew I needed an X, Y, or Z, or some other uncommon letter in the name, and you can never go wrong with throwing Prime at the end of a planet name. I'm going with a freeform base this time because I want to capture a specific shape. I want it to be long and narrow like a path, because the story I'm going to tell will progress across the mock, starting on one side and ending at the other. To make this feel as otherworldly as possible, I'm building the base terrain out of all black brick. No vibrant green jungles or blue oceans here. Most of the liquid will be toxic acid running along the terrain and scorching it black. Think Umbara, but on steroids. There is rain on the planet, but because of the toxicity levels, most of the plant life are scrubby bushes, and the toxic vapor expelled from the ground forms into great clouds that block out the sun, forcing most of the flora and fauna to evolve into flesh-eating carnivores. In summary, not your first choice of vacation spot, but hey, the flights must be pretty cheap. To build the acid rivers, I put down some tile, then used wedge plates to carve out channels in the terrain, and so far things are looking pretty good. This definitely doesn't look like your typical backwater world. I finished placing the foundations and have a pretty intriguing layout. The black ground contrasts really well with the yellow rivers and pools, which also adds some much needed detail. Now it's time to build some overly aggressive foliage. This entire video came about because of this simple set. One day I was strolling past my shelves and I happened to glance at this set on display, and it struck me how cool it would be to have a couple galactic marines walking through the foliage like they were on some crazy planet. I couldn't get the idea out of my head, and it evolved into turning those plants into deadly man-eaters and building my own custom world with them. And then I thought, why not keep the party going and just throw in some oversized killer bugs, and thus this build challenge came to be. And just look at this plant. It was like it was built to be a plant-eating terror. I popped the center off and replaced it with a mouth and some teeth. I left the other petals on, but but replaced some of them with yellow pieces, so it looks like even with their evolution, the acidic climate has had somewhat of a negative effect on the plants. This next one is even more fun. I added sharper teeth around the mouth, and instead of connecting it directly to the terrain, I fitted a flexible pipe to the head to act as a springy stem so the head can launch out and snag unsuspecting prey. I like that the plants are still green even though nothing else is. It makes them stand out more, and it's still easy to figure out what they are, and since I don't want to go too crazy and turn this mock into a piece of unrecognizable modern art. One of the plants was made out of a bunch of these egg-looking things, which worked perfectly for small detailing to fill in the gaps between the larger plants. Man, this succulent set is an absolute goldmine when it comes to useful parts. For minifigs, I'm using glass since their suits would handle the climate the best, and I figured the 501st could use a break from wild dark planets. I also need to add a dissolving Jedi interceptor, and I think the stage has been sufficiently set. It's time to journey to a new world. Deep in the Outer Rim, General Ki-Adi-Mundi and the 21st Nova Corps have reached Raxus Prime, with the mission to recover Jedi Master Aayla Secura, whose ship was recently ambushed and went down on this uncharted world. Mundi's men have located what appears to be a crashed Jedi interceptor, and a team is deployed near the area via gunships to investigate. But as soon as they land, all hell breaks loose. The charred black terrain is laced with small rivers of acid, some of which pour into large pools. As the clones pick their way along a somewhat safe path, the very plants come alive, lunging out and snapping them up in their jaws. It's chaos as clones are opening fire on the foliage and trying to pull their comrades to safety, when all of a sudden a hideous creature smashes through the undergrowth, trampling clones underfoot. Clashing with General Mundi, it rips and slashes as she tries to cut through the creature's many arms and get to its body to deliver a killing blow. The commotion has attracted other mysterious winged predators, and Mundi and his men need to get the situation under control before they have the entire area swarming in to investigate. Luckily, they've reached the crash site and spotted Aayla Secura's ship, which is slowly dissolving in a pool of acid. But the canopy appears to have been popped off, and nearby lays a discarded cape, and some slashed leaves indicate a Jedi has been through this area recently. But the question remains, where is she now? The team doesn't have much time, since on Raxus Prime, you never know who or what is watching, waiting for its next meal. I'm pretty happy with how my first custom planet turned out, and the two sets provided some great plants and creatures to modify to my needs. I used the leaves from one of the unbuilt plants as small spores or eggs littering the terrain, waiting to be hit and burst open. Among the chaos of the mission, this guy still managed to snag some pics for the boys back on Camino. Good things aside, I'm not super satisfied with the terrain colors I chose. I thought black and yellow would look good together, and they do. I just don't like having the whole thing be black because it feels lacking in detail. But I didn't want to use any green or brown pieces since I want this planet to feel very alien and hostile. Let me know in the comments what colors you would have picked. Raxus Prime has officially made its debut into the Coconutverse. This was a really fun challenge because for the first time I had full creative control over almost everything. I got to build whatever I wanted, and I had the most fun crafting the lore for the planet, its atmosphere, and inhabitants. I didn't have to rely on any reference material or expectations, but was still able to effectively plug it into the Star Wars galaxy with the minifigs and vehicles. Let me know in the comments what you think of my planet, Raxus Prime, and I will catch you in the next one, but until then, happy building.